Hey everyone, it's Anan here. I just wanted to record this short video because I had a pretty amazing epiphany in my mind when it comes to talking about how to sell something to anyone and how to predictably know that this selling would actually work. And by that I mean that, like nowadays we have so many, a gazillion ways to sell. You have different strategies, methods, tactics. You have different mediums which you can sell over. You can sell over through email. You can sell over through a sales call, webinar. There's so many things, right? But what selling really is, I mean, sure, like the main definition for selling is actually just selling someone a future which they want, right? Most people try to sell products, but the reality is selling a future because that's why they're actually buying the product. But that's something I don't want to talk about right now. The main thing which I believe, and I learned this from Dan Kennedy, a famous marketer and copywriter, that and also from Sam Ovens, that you should use always second order consequences when it comes to selling. And what that means is, I can pretty much detail it down for you, is that we know that people buy stuff because of a problem. They buy stuff because they're in pain, they don't like their current lives, and thus they buy stuff to alleviate that pain in order to get their dream outcome, their future, whatnot, right? But the most biggest problem which business owners do is they try to sell the product itself. But you have to understand that people don't buy because your product looks fancy or it looks like, my god, like it's amazing. I mean, sure, all of those things help, but the main thing when it comes to selling anything is the actual, the pain they have, the problem they have, and they just want to remove that problem from their life. And if you can structure your emails, your sales letters, your calls, everything in that frame, selling becomes a whole lot easier. So what I mean by second order consequences, now this is a concept which I personally learned from Sam Ovens. He was he's the owner of consulting.com. Now he's the owner of Skool, alongside of Alex Ramosi. So what does second order consequences mean? Well, it's pretty simple. For example, let's take an example. Let's say we have a product which is like a hearing device, right? I don't know. This is the product, right? I'm not really good at drawing, but this is the product, and we want to sell this. Now, who would we sell it to? Well, people who have bad hearing, right? Now, the biggest problem that people would make while selling this stuff is that they're gonna think that, okay, the problem that we have, that you're trying to solve, is hearing problems. People who get old, they're not able to hear properly. Sorry, let me just adjust this camera. Yeah, so the people who get old, they're not able to hear properly, and that's just what they're solving. But that couldn't be further away from the truth, because when it comes to actually selling solutions to problems, it's much deeper than that. We're not just helping them solve this, because this is just level one. Which is called the problem. But we have to understand that problems create other problems, which create other problems, which create other problems, right? It's like, for example, if I don't know, I don't know, if let's say I start a new habit, I start to, I don't know, if I start to drink or something, right? I don't drink alcohol, by the way. If I start to drink, now the first order consequence of that would be I feel dizzy, which is the first order consequence. But the second order consequence would be that my works get affected, my working ability. If I'm feeling dizzy, I can't work properly. The third order consequence of that would be that I I don't know, make less money in my business, and it goes so on and so forth. So the levels of the pain, they increase as you keep defining it. So when we talk about a hearing problem, right, we have to understand that hearing problem, well, what happens when someone has a hearing problem? Well, number one, their family. Well, people have a hearing problem, they usually live with their families if they're old people, and they won't be able to have good conversation with them. So another problem which comes from that problem of hearing is, bad communication with family. That's a big one, right? If let's say your family, your mom, or sorry, your daughter tells you You know, like, hey, look, grandpa, I have something to show you, and you just can't hear her, right? That's like gonna bring up pretty negative emotions in you, because you know she's probably gonna get upset, she's gonna get weirded, she's not gonna know what's happening to granddaddy, and it's like, you know, the pain just multiplies. And the next layer of that problem would be that your family thinks you're crazy. And they start to think that, oh my god, you're getting old, and now we need to, you know, do something about granddad. We need to put him on some medications. We need to go look at the doctor, spend money there. As you can see, the problem just keeps getting deeper. Then they might think that, okay, since granddaddy has hearing problems, but they don't know if it's hearing problems, right? They know that granddad is old, and because he's old, it could be multiple things. It could be dementia, it could be just like losing his mind. I mean, it could be so many more things. When people don't define the problem, they use assumptions to fill the gap, and those assumptions are 90% of the time wrong. So then they would start to admit granddad to the nursing home. Now the issue is, the problem is just hearing, right? His, like, the person's, the avatar's problem is just hearing. Their mind works perfectly, their health is fine, the hearing aspect is wrong. But because of that problem, there's so many other consequences which happen. These are not something that we're just making up. If you do your market research properly, you're going to find these layers, and it's so imperative to find these layers, because no one is going to buy just because they want to solve the hearing problem. I mean, sure, that's the goal, right? You want to solve that, but you also want to solve these things. And like, I would say, like, the final auto consequence would be that I don't know, if like I mean, like, getting admitted into a nursing home sucks. You know, like, people will have to go there, and it just sucks to know that, you know, like, your family is just throwing you away, and that's a really bad emotion, right? The last one would be, you know, couldn't see my kids grow. That is pretty true. If an old person gets accused of bad hearing issues or dementia or whatever, and he gets sent to a nursing home, they can't technically see their small grandkids grow up. And that's a really, really strong pain, which a lot of people don't want to go through. And this is the whole point. It's second order consequences. Because we think as business owners that, oh my god, I have this product and it solves this thing, and so I'm just going to hammer down on the main issue, on the main problem. And you can do that. You can get I don't know, like, you can get some sales with it. But if you really want to sweep up the whole market with your product and your offer, you need to do this. You need to break down all of the little things that manifest because of the problem. Like, there's the problem, and then there's the manifestations of the problem. You need to dig down all of it. How do you do that? Simply by just researching your market and talking to them, asking them questions, just like getting more reps in, getting to know more about, you know, people. So that's the main lesson. Now, how do we use this second order consequence thing into our sales process? Well, you have to understand, we know that this exists, right, after our market research. Now, we have to understand that in any sales process, if let's say this is your customer, right? Let's say this is your customer, right? And you drive that customer to your sales process. This could be an email, this could be a landing page, whatever. You have to understand, there are only two pathways a person can take from here. Path number one, they buy. Path number one, they not buy, they don't buy, whatever. These are the only two pathways they can take. So what you have to do as a business owner, whether you're writing emails, whether you're writing, I don't know, like sales letters, whether you're creating webinars, whether you're closing people on the phone, is that you need to show them that if they don't buy, right, all of these negative things are going to happen. They're already happening, but they're going to get worse. You need to show them that this is where their life is going to be shit. Sorry for the bad language, but this is true. And then you have to show that all of the good things that they want can happen when they buy. And this is the only, like, this is the most simplified version in which I can explain selling. And if you ask any great salesperson, this is how they would describe it. Because it's very simple. Like you have a person who goes through your sales process, and then he only has two options. Either he buys on the phone, or he looks at the email, clicks it, goes on the next page, buys, or he doesn't buy. And who's gonna be the author of that? Well, you must be the author of that, because as a business owner, as a salesperson, it's your responsibility to get them to buy or get them to not buy. And if you can like show them, their life is gonna be miserable if they don't buy, and it's gonna be awesome. Like they're gonna have like, you can sometimes even invert these, like like the main problem is not dementia, it's nothing, it's just your hearing. And once you fix it, you're gonna be able to hear properly, have better communication with your family, like never even think of going to that sick nursing home, and just a bunch more stuff like which they want, right, which you can get from the market research. So this is really it. The main action item for you guys is that you need to describe, like, before writing any email, before creating any piece of marketing asset, is this marketing asset painting a picture that my product is going to get them all of this good stuff which they want, and away from all of this bad stuff. Because if your product is not mentioning all of this, your offer is never going to be strong. And if your competitor comes in and he does mention all of this stuff, which is going to relate much more to your audience than you are relating to them, they're going to get most of the market share, and you're going to lose, and we don't want that, right? So this is basically the second order consequences paired with the customer journey. And I believe this is the most easiest way, like the most simplified way in which you can sell anything to anyone predictably. I mean, sure, there are like a million other ways, but all of those ways stem from describing the real problem, doing your market research, and then when it comes to the sales process, painting a picture that your life is going to be shit if you don't buy. And not just like saying this directly, but showing them, like, telling them that where you are in your current situation is causing all of this pain, and you can choose. You can just simply choose. You can choose to stay where you are, right, with all of this negative stuff, or you can buy our shit, and they will buy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just had a quick thought, wanted to flesh it out in a form of a video. So yeah, talk soon.